Can't tell anyone. Okay, we're recording. All right. Hi, everybody. Okay, it was super fun. Oh my God, I can't remember who it was that emailed me. I'm such a bad, my brain is like a little bit of a sieve today. But last week during the comments, somebody said that it was a nice respite to like come into tea time after the week or weekend that they were having. And I got a nice email from someone that said the same thing, that this is kind of what they don't watch it live, but they're able to watch it on YouTube after. So hi, everybody watching on YouTube after.
That's right. Whenever is good.
I know
Mhm.
whenever is good. And today's an anniversary of a very, very bad day. And I just wanted to acknowledge um, that we acknowledge that it was, horrific and it's been a whole year and it's not anything
Yeah,
good
it's hard to
about it.
believe.
Yeah. Um, Update for next week. Amanda's going to be gone. So, and because of this lovely technology with Zoom, since the beginning of this year, I have not been able to take it out to Facebook. So, we're still going to do it live, but what Amanda's going to do in the chat on Facebook, and then we'll also put it on our web page, and I'll try to figure out how to put it onto the YouTube link too. If you don't see it on the YouTube link, go to our webpage, warworks.com. You should be able to find the link. We're going to do a webinar style of this. So people can register to come in. So the screen will still look the same. Liz and Tom and whoever comes next week, it'll all still look the same. But the attendees will be in with us like it's a webinar and they can chat with us live
Oh, interesting.
on the chat function. So instead of being out live and this weird delay thing that we have with Facebook, they'll actually be here with us. So if you want to come in live with us next week, you got to sign up and give us your email. We don't share it with anybody, but you got to sign up for the webinar. And so you can come in with us as a webinar. So we'll kind of do it as a test. If
And
everybody likes
that'll
it,
be nice because we'll be able to see the chat in a way that I feel like I
correct.
don't get to see it because I don't have
Correct. So
Facebook
you'll
open
see
here.
exactly what's going on with the chat. So that might be really a good, fun thing.
Yeah.
So I think that,
Conversation.
yeah. So we're gonna try it. And that still doesn't mean that we can't go out live on Facebook from a webinar. I just can't take us out. So when Amanda gets back, we still could do the webinar thing with people coming in with us. So, anyways,
A whole new world for tea time, maybe.
that's how I do all of the author events. So all the author events are done as webinars. So
Yeah.
everybody's with us and they're live with us and they're chatting with and they can ask questions and stuff. So it's much more interactive than what we do. And I don't know why I've never done it with this, but whatever. So we'll see how it goes. 4.5 years later. We'll figure it out. All right. I'm still, God, I hope nobody from my book club's watching. I'm still slogging through the Wilbur Smith book. I'm just not.
Wilbur
He's
Smith.
a spy writer.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
more like swashbuckling. This is
Right. You're
like,
South African or no?
yeah, well, this is I'm only about 100 pages in, but it's oh, the English against the Dutch in the pirate in ship, down at the Cape of Africa. And
Okay.
they're not pirate ships, they're actually, but they're
Right.
like
I'm
fighting each
digging
other.
deep into my publishing brain to even recall Wilbur Smith. Is he still
Yeah.
writing?
Is he still alive? That's what I don't
I
know.
mean, yeah, he's back there in the days of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
I
know,
don't know. I don't
long
know.
ago.
But I'm reading, Shannon's not here, but I've dipped into one of her books that's going to be a fun one for next year. Friends of the Museum will be a really good book. So kind of
Mm.
dipping into a bunch of different stuff. So anyways, that's my story of reading for the week. And so anyways, can't wait to hear what you guys have to talk about. So it'll go Liz, Tom. So let's see. I think Amanda, I didn't set up screen share, so you might need to get that done so
Oh
that
yeah,
they
it
can.
says I'm sending a request.
Yeah. So there you go, Liz. Take it away as soon as
Okay.
you can.
And I will once I
Let's
see
get
it.
rid of that. Let's get rid of that.
Here we go. Okay, sorry about this. It's
Oh,
just
it's
not obvious
Well,
for
while
me.
Liz is doing that, Julie,
Yeah,
you
you
have
look.
not mentioned, can you see who that is back there? It's too far
um
back.
it's a little too far back because
See.
the first thing I think is it looks like Elon Musk. So I'm hoping that's not who that is.
All right, well, let's put it
I
into
see
that.
it. That is our Al Pacino.
That is Al Pacino,
Al Pacino.
which I'm not ready to talk about yet because it's not on sale till next week. Uh,
Oh,
but I heard the most amazing. He's going to give the most amazing interviews. So
okay.
I heard
Can't
about his
wait.
first one today. It's just fantastic. So
All right.
You've
let's
got
put Elon
great.
Musk out of our brain. Only think
Okay.
Al Pacino.
Al Pacino.
Well, speaking of books that you have read, Julie,
Yes, I loved this book,
the
and I love her. I
Mesmer,
love Caroline. She's so
yeah,
awesome.
right. She wrote The Lunar Housewife and books before that too, but we published The Lunar Housewife. So The Mesmerist is my idea. It came out, it's not my idea, but oh yes, I give her all
I
her
think yeah, you
ideas.
get all her ideas.
No, I was trying to think of a good book for October that's sort of spooky or eerie. And so this came out last month. And it's a page turner. It's based on a true story, and it features three very different women who are working to stop a serial killer. So before hypnotism, there was mesmerism, which is putting someone into a sleep-like state. So this novel opens in 1894 in Minneapolis. It's the wake of national financial crisis, and spiritualism is really all the rage. So women unfortunately are dying under mysterious circumstances in Minneapolis. So before our main character, Faith, lands at the Bethany Home for Unwed Mothers, which is based on a true home for unwed mothers, she refuses to speak or explain her arrival. And these sordid stories of unexplained deaths seem unconnected. And her reticence to speak and to explain any thing about how she has arrived is quickly interpreted as dark magic. And so then we have Abby, who's a staunch Quaker. She's also really progressive. And she's the treasurer at the Bethany home. And she thinks these rumors of Faith's occult powers are total nonsense. But to avoid scandal, she asks Faith's roommate, May, to trace Faith's path to the Bethany home to try and dispel these rumors. And so the roommate May is living at Bethany House, but she's at the tail end. If you come there, you have to spend a year, no matter when your baby is born. So she's desperate to end her year. She's almost at the end of her tenure there, and they call them inmates, which is really was sort of disturbing when I read that. Anyway, May is engaged. She's on track for her own happily ever after, but then she begins digging into Faith's shadowy background, and the investigation brings her disturbingly closer to Minneapolis's polite society, not so polite perhaps, and her boyfriend Hal. And so the more she learns, the more she's forced to question the motives of everyone, including Abby, including Faith. And as more women turn up dead, May's got to reevaluate the future that she wants and which lies she's willing to tell and for whom. So there's a mood here. I've been listening to it actually as an audiobook. There's a mood here that was reminding me a little bit of The Witch of Blackbird Pond that I loved when I was, as a child or as a young adult. And Julie wrote a great quote for the novel.
Not me.
Huh?
Not me.
Yes, you. She says Caroline Woods's command of language takes us straight into the turn of the century for this gothic feminist historical mystery based on a real place and real characters, a home for unwed mothers, and a serial killer. I devoured this one in 2 sittings, thoroughly enjoyed every moment. So there you have The Mesmerist.
And yes, I did enjoy every moment. And we actually did an event with her, virtual event. So if you're watching this, and Amanda probably will find Amanda's been putting the links for everything. Um, um, you can rewatch the interview because she came up with there's some really interesting things about like mesmerism and like what people were like. I think this was around the time when the telephone was invented or something, and they thought that you could like send these messages and that you were mesmerizing people like across the, I mean, it was just like crazy stuff. But
Growing voices.
yeah. And so just all kinds of crazy stuff with this. But your first description of it, Liz, because there's quite a few booksellers at the store that have read it and loved it too. But one of them in particular, Chris, she was saying that she was looking for this kind of a book for this time of year. Something a little spooky, something a little different, you know.
But
So
also historically of an era
of an era and a time, and this place really existed.
Mhm.
And I mean, and how
And it's
progressive,
feminist. Like the feminist
correct.
part of it is important.
Yeah, and how progressive these women were
Yeah.
and how brave
hmm
they were, the women
hmm
that ran this home.
Yeah.
And so it was really something. But I wanted to give you both, because lots of people have been reading lots of stuff. So let me go into the chat here real quick. So Dee has read, or just finished Color Television, and We Solve Murders. So
Oh,
Tom, I
excellent.
think those
Oh,
are yours, and I
Yeah.
think we've got some consensus going on with that too. That a bunch of other people have read those too, I think.
Oh, fantastic.
Um, and Beth just read Death at the Sign of the Rook. Is that yours?
yes. Kate
Liz, I think that's
Atkinson.
yours. Yeah, that's a Kate
hmm
Oh,
Atkinson, right?
Did she like it?
Um, she did. I
Good.
do love Jackson Brody, she says. We saw murders, and Beth Doherty is telling us that Wilbur Smith passed away in 2021.
oh, thank
Oh,
So,
you for the
recently.
fact check.
and so Kim just finished and recommended Creation Lake, The Cliffs,
Mm,
Nicked. Yep, those are all
those
Warwick's
are
Rec.
mine.
So
Yeah.
yeah, those are yours too. So lots of good reading going on, everybody.
Love it.
So anyways, there we go. So, and Amanda did put the link in for the Caroline Woods conversation, which was really fun. So there we go. Okay, Tom, what do you have for
Okay, I
us?
love when books bounce off of each other. So after you're done with Liz's book, then you're going to be in the mood for something that it relates, but it is different. So this
And
is The
she's so
Improvement
good.
by
Olga is
Olga Tokarczuk.
amazing.
Yes, well, and it's so rare. Like, how often does a rep get to present a Nobel Prize winning author with in the prime of her writing career?
Right?
So I'm going to take advantage. So The Impusium, and I love the subtitle is A Health Resort Horror Story. So it's set in 1913, and a young man suffering from tuberculosis comes to this, they call it a guest house for gentlemen, a health resort in Western Poland. And it's important that it's for gentlemen because they get there and they have lots of uh, thoughts about they're obsessed with, money and status and the issues of the day, like will there be war? This is 1913. They discuss political issues. Do devils exist? And of course, are women inherently inferior? So that is also part of their discussion. Anyway, so you have this setting, kind of a spooky setting anyway, and then but these men are not prepared for what's happening outside in the forest around the Impusium. So that's what the book is about. So it's about you do not have to have read Thomas Mann's The Magic Mountain. I haven't read, but I'm sure if I had, it would be because it is her feminist response to the Magic Mountain. And it's also like she loves to play with form and genre, like drive your bones drive your plow over the bones of the dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
This was her version of a mystery, but it was unlike any other mystery. And this is her version of a horror story, but as only Olga Tokarczuk could tell it. So it is a horror. It does definitely has horror in it, thriller, a little bit of thriller, but it's also folklore. It's funny, and it's a feminist parable. So even though women don't appear in the book per se, because there's all these men in the guest house for gentlemen. So she's a brilliant writer, and it's exciting to have a new book from her. Hari Kunzru, in his New York Times review, says he calls it an elegant and genuinely unsettling novel with different battle lines than in the Thomas Mann version. The various political stances of the men at the guest house are meaningless. In the end, all that counts is the conflict between brutal masculine supremacism and an unappeasable feminine forest energy, multiple, chaotic, and if it wants to be, equally violent. So The Impusium. And her last book was The Books of Jacob, which was her big magnum opus, but also like size-wise, it was a real like this one is more like
We're
regular.
back to normal size, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
Book
So
of
that's The
Jacob was like,
Impusium. This is like a very literary, scholarly in a way, Halloween book.
I love it. So you're right. Those are very
Yeah.
good bookend books. And Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead was one of Nancy Warwick's favorite books too. I think that's
Oh
still
That's,
yeah.
I
on our
love that book.
yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
actually still on our bestseller table.
It's
Um,
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, I don't know. Have I read anything where she's speaking in the voice of men?
I don't think so, but
I'm
I
so
don't know.
curious.
and
Okay.
so she's a Nobel Prize
Nobel
winner.
and also Booker Prize. She won the Booker for Flights,
She won
but
the Booker for Flights, but
She won the
Nobel is
Nobel Prize.
for your body of work,
That's
correct?
right.
And
Yeah.
that was an interesting Nobel because she shared it with Peter Handke, right? Wasn't there
Oh,
like
is
some
that right? I don't
controversy?
remember that,
Yeah.
but maybe.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And
Anyway,
don't you each have like a announcements for finalists for National Book Awards too? Didn't that
yes. I have
both both of you?
my two best favorite novels of the year are vying for fiction.
I
I
know.
know.
Carter and James.
Martyr and James, and then
And then
Tom.
coming in behind those is All Fours, the book
Yes.
cannot be stopped. It is
No,
selling and selling and selling
Yep.
so
So I
true.
and
looked
I
at the
think
list.
and mo best of all, we'll get to see what Miranda July wears to the National Book Awards. That her outfit alone will be worth the price of admission.
With that 1000%, 1000%. But what I love about, okay, y'all who watch this, think about it. We've been talking to you about these books that are now National
Yeah,
Book Award winners, and you all heard about these a long time ago.
that's
We
right.
got the stuff.
Listen up,
So
listen up. We're
listen
telling
up.
you about well,
Tell me about good stuff.
I can't help but now jump in with because I think James is on the Booker shortlist, right?
Yes.
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 And maybe Martyr, no,
I
Martyr too. I think
oh
Martyr
my gosh,
too.
I can't remember.
I can't remember the Booker
Well,
shortlist.
it's a great Booker shortlist, but there is one book that until this last week didn't have an American publisher, and that Riverhead bought it. So we'll have it. I think it's coming in February, although it would be a very dark horse to win, but I'm like almost done with it. It's called Stone Yard Devotional. It's set in Australia. It's about a woman. I guess I won't say too much, but it's really fantastic. So
Okay.
another
See,
possible award winner coming from Riverhead, and I can't wait to finish it and then talk about it on Tea Time.
had you
Yeah.
heard of the author before? I
Yeah,
just
we actually did publish her last book,
Oh, okay.
but I
All right.
don't think this was like they must have just bought it because we just heard about it. So
Riverhead is got their
On
finger on
the
the pulse. There's
Yep.
no
yeah,
doubt.
Yep.
Uh,
Anyways, I didn't mean to divert the conversation, but when you talked about Nobel Prize, I was like, wait a minute,
yeah,
I think we just got some pretty big announcements last
yeah.
week
yes.
with some pretty good things. All right, Liz, what you
Okay,
got
yeah,
next?
I'm next. So Patricia's not here, but I can give us our little art history lesson today. So Monet, The Restless Vision, is the new unique, this is not the Monet that you think you know, biography by Jackie Wolfschlager, who's the chief art critic for the Financial Times. It was also the cover review of the New York Times Book Review yesterday, along with another book about Monet. But this is the biography. So it draws on thousands of never before translated letters and unpublished sources, revealing new information about the life of, one of the late 19th century's most important painters. No one can dispute that. And despite being mocked at the beginning of his career, Monet's early work along the banks of the Seine in the 1860s and 70s would come to be revered as Impressionism, as we all know, and one of the most exciting cultural moments in Paris. So the review by Hugh Eakin, I like the way he sums things up in this way. To the wider world, Monet was a placid voluptuary, not a tormented rebel. But Wolfschlager uncovers a far more turbulent story, a man of prodigious appetites and nagging self-doubt. Monet spends much of his career lurching from triumph to crisis. For years after the first Impressionist show, he is still a painter on the run, unable to sell and evading unpaid laundry bills. He vacillates between manic bouts of work and long fallow periods. At times, he slashes dozens of canvases. So these paintings that, we think of as his impressionistic, kind of the minute paintings, he, of course, labored over for months and months and sometimes destroyed. So this is the first time we see this turbulent life. He was obsessed by his love affairs, as obsessed as he was by nature. He changed his art decisively 3 different times when the women at the center of his life changed. And so the author brings these unknown, passionate, and passionately committed women to the foreground as well, as his strong intellectual connections to writers from Zola to Proust and artists Manet, Renoir, and Pissarro. So it's really a remarkable book with colored plates, and it's just going to hopefully do really, really well. And I put this was the poster on this slide, was the poster in my dorm room, my
Oh,
freshman dorm
wow.
room that I stared at all the time. I just loved the lush trees and the gathering and all of that. So I found it, and yeah, this is going to be a really great holiday book, great gift book.
Definitely a great gift
For
book. And
sure.
everybody in the chat is cracking me up though, because they're all talking about, here we go, we're gonna get off of can you take
I'm
us off of,
stopping.
there we go, here we go. Everybody's talking about who knew when Monet was so handsome as a young man. And then
Oh my gosh.
and somebody commented dreamy.
It's the Randy Tea Time crowd.
That's
Dear
right.
God, this is killing me. Oh, gotta have some fun. That's a face made for TV, obviously,
No,
right?
but the theme
Love
carries
seeing through the
on, right? We're
impressions.
talking about the women, the importance of women in all of these books so far.
Exactly.
I'm about to change that narrative, but
Okay, you
yes.
All
go.
right. Well, Tom, go ahead, bring us down.
I know, sorry. This is also, in a weird way, this book is an escape, but it's, at least the way I read it, very old-fashioned in the best sense. Like there are readers for this book, but it's called The Restless Wave by Admiral James Stavridis, a novel of the U.S. Navy. So it reminds me of books. It's a coming of age novel in the Navy. It reminds me of books from, I don't know, for some reason I'm thinking of, not exactly Leon Uris or Michener, but that kind of
Mm,
vintage of, just like good old-fashioned story of or like From Here to Eternity. So it's about a young man, very probably very much like Stavridis himself, in 1940, class of 1941. Um, enters the Navy, Naval Academy, not really sure he wants to be in this, but there he is, 1941, Pearl Harbor happens, and then he's drawn into that world. So it's Second World War. So for people who like to read history of the Second World War, and there's so much of that, this is a different kind of book, but you'll get the same kind of history from it, but through the eyes of a character. And Stavridis has written books for, this is Penguin Press, and he's written books with Elliot Ackerman that
mm.
are more like they're very contemporary,
Right. Thrilling.
predictive.
Yeah, there's a more thrilling aspect to them too,
Yeah,
right?
and they're
Yeah.
predictive of all the dangers in the internet on the international scene in the near future, because he's got his finger on that pulse. But this is the other side of him that is more just he wants to write a novel that is, I would say, old-fashioned in the best sense. So he's a regular on media, like he's on Morning Joe a lot because he's a talking head who can talk about international conflict with authority. But this is a fascinating break from that, and don't we all need a break from that? Um,
Exactly.
The
But
Restless
yet,
Wave, The Restless Wave on sale tomorrow.
what I love though, it's like you said, back to like the Tom Clancy's, or I mean, it's like that
Yeah,
dip into this stuff, even though it's a novel, you still learn some
that's
things that
exactly right.
are pretty close to the truth. I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah,
stuff that they can't like divulge,
Right. And
you know.
and because he's who he is, I think he brings a whole lot of authority to
Right.
all that stuff
So it's
that
not just stuff being grabbed off the air,
yeah,
out of the air,
exactly.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. No.
Yeah, it's not just like somebody in their basement making stuff up.
And for just the right person, this is going to be a great Christmas gift, I think.
Yeah.
Someone who's looking for that kind of
I
thing.
can think my brother-in-law is actually one that I'm
Yeah, I
thinking
mean, I
that
can
it's
think of a
like
lot
that
of
would be
people.
right
It's
up his, yeah.
and for some reason now I feel like there aren't a lot of novels, at least my impression is not a lot of published like this.
Yeah, not anymore. There was for a while. There seemed to
Yeah,
be like,
yeah.
that type, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm trying to remember the title. A movie was made with Tom Hanks as the star of it. It was also like a military novel. Anyway, shouldn't bring it up if I don't
I'm
remember
drawing a
the
blank,
title.
but
All right, we'll draw a blank. Well, somebody will Google it for us, I'm sure.
yeah.
But before we go away, though, when you said there was a Randy crowd, Amanda came out with a hashtag for us, Randy Bibliophiles, that everybody's laughing at.
That's fantastic.
A good one. Randy's also an old-fashioned word.
I know, I love it.
Yes.
You come here for the old-fashioned.
The old fashioned. We're all reading books. All right. Okay, Liz, what you
Okay.
got for our last one?
Well, it wouldn't be me if I didn't want to tell you about the best book of poetry that's coming.
Hmm.
And that is on sale tomorrow. Margaret Atwood's, it collects her poems from her entire career. So, of course, we know her best for her fiction, and her nonfiction too. The Handmaid's Tale made her famous. I cannot wait for season 6, which is supposed to come out in the spring, the adaptation, which she has been heavily involved with. She's won the Booker Prize twice over, and she's a perennial contender, since we were talking about, for the Nobel Prize, and so respected that Kazuo Ishiguro apologized to her when he won the award. But she was a poet first. And this book collects her best poems from more than 6 decades of work, beginning with Double Persephone, which she published as a chapbook in 1961. But it also includes 60 new poems. And it's, with any poetry book, and this is a tome, it's nothing you read from start to finish, although it's really interesting to do so because of the evolution of her writing and her life. So to quote her Knopf editor, Dan Halpern, these poems are politically charged, acutely imaginative, beautiful with a sinister undercurrent. That won't surprise her fans. And at times both funny and mean-spirited, because she can be a crank in the best and kindest ways. The crank part was from me. I don't want the editor to be credited with that. I
You heard
love
it on
this.
Tea Time.
You heard it here. Dan, no, I know you didn't call her a crank, but I just listened to her NPR interview that came out yesterday. It's NPR's Wild Card, and the interviewer, Rachel, she's fantastic. I had never listened to the Wild Card, this particular program on NPR, but the headline of it is perfect. Margaret Atwood was advised to just find a good man. Her response, "You're an idiot." So
I love
so
her.
I encourage you to listen to that interview. It's really fun. They like use a deck of cards and pick cards, and that, you know, is a
Oh,
prompt
right.
for the question.
Right.
The title of this is great. It's actually is a paper boat, the book, and it's 624 pages, and you really take this journey with Atwood, her mind and her moods over time. And we, yeah, witness her evolution as a poet and a person. And if you're a fan of her prose, rest assured, these can be read like stories about animals and people and aging and grieving, and with a fair dose of raging against the machine that you would expect from Margaret Atwood. So I put a poem there. If you'll humor me, I'd love to read this poem that I took a walk on the beach this morning, and so this was the one that really spoke to me. Nothing. Nothing like love to put blood back in the language. The difference between the beach and its discrete rocks and shards, a hard cuneiform, and the tender cursive of waves, bone and liquid fish egg, desert and salt marsh, a green push out of death. The vowels plump again like lips or soaked fingers, and the fingers themselves move around these softening pebbles as around skin. The sky's not vacant and over there, but close against your eyes, molten, so near you can taste it. It tastes of salt. What touches you is what you touch. That's Margaret
Awesome.
Atwood.
She's just a living legend, you know?
She is.
Yeah.
She really is. I mean, she's just, it's like nothing that, I don't care if she's a curmudgeon.
Mhm.
I'm like, I kind of like her more for that.
Exactly.
And you have
If
them
she
coming
wasn't a
in.
curmudgeon, there'd be something wrong with her, I think.
Right.
Yeah. Right, the Canadian curmudgeon.
Love it. Now you're coming up with all kinds of good ones today, Liz.
Can I say?
Hashtag crank.
Yeah, hashtag Craig. There we go.
Not
Hashtag
from Dan
Craig.
Halpern.
Not from Dan Halpern. Dan did not say that. But I knew somebody would Google it, Amanda. The Tom Hanks movie I think you're thinking of is Greyhound.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. So that's I think what you're thinking of. So there you go. And Amanda put in the NPR link for everybody.
Thank you.
All right, Tom. Wrap
All
us
right.
up.
This is the sequel to the Kamigawa Food Detectives. Sorry,
That's
dogs.
right.
The Restaurant of Lost Recipes. And there is no stopping this trend of Japanese novels or stories in translation. This is stories in translation that make you feel good, uplifted. And this is in that very much in that in that trend. It's been huge bestseller in Japan since I think 2013, but now the books are being translated and we're getting them. So we published the Kamigawa Food Detectives earlier this year, I think, and we could not keep it in stock. It just sold and sold and sold. So I expect that to happen with this one because the setup is so kind of just like delightful. It's a retired widowed police detective and his 30-something daughter. He's the chef at the Kamigawa food or diner, I think they call it, which is kind of a secret place, but people find it. And once they get there, the customer comes in describing something about a meal, and something about that meal is important to their history or what happened or how they're feeling. And then the chef takes it all in and it investigates and creates a meal that helps the character deal with what happened previously. So it's a very clever conceit. And I expect there's been 7 novels, or I guess they're not connected. Their story, I don't know if you call them a novel, but because they're same 2 characters, but then in each chapter or story, a character comes into the diner to have the meal made. So it's food, it is mystery, and it's Japan. Maureen Corrigan on Fresh Air reviewed the first book, and she called it offbeat and charming, but it also contains more complexity of flavor than you might expect. So a really delightful series that I think we're going to be seeing for a long time. The Restaurant of Lost Recipes.
Yeah, and I do think that trend, I mean, it is because they're just something that you can dip into.
Yeah.
In between these big, like heavy thinking things,
Right.
And you dip into something like this, and it's just like a little
Palate
cleansing
cleanser. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they're good enough, and there's so much richness there that they give you a little bit of both.
Well, they're not bestsellers over in Japan since 2013 for no reason.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like there's a
Yeah.
reason that they've had that longevity to it.
And between now and the next time you see me, I'll be working on my Al Pacino
I was
impression. But
just
we'll
gonna
see.
ask you so that's coming out next week?
Yes, and I may have to miss next week because I'll be traveling. But if I don't get to it, but it'll just give me more time to sound more like
To
Al.
sound like Al Pacino. We could all come up with our favorite. Maybe that's a homework assignment. We can
Oh,
all come
that's
up with
good.
our
Yes.
favorite Al Pacino like line from a
Yes.
movie.
Oh, man, there's
'Cause
so many.
There's so many. There's so many. But I mean, I can like think of like 5 right off the top
Yeah,
of
I
my
know.
head.
It's great.
So maybe that will be our new. So I didn't know he had a book coming. So is it
Yeah.
is it a Barbara Streisand sized tome or are
It is
we?
not. It is
Okay.
a regular size tome.
Okay. All
It's
right.
about 350, 400,
Oh,
and
perfect.
And I've read a big chunk of it so far. They're keeping it, it's completely secret, like they're
Yeah.
not sharing it yet. But what I've read is so good.
Oh,
Yeah,
he
and the
is.
editor shaped it in a way that there was no shaping Barbara Streisand, shall I say.
I mean, he was always just the heartthrob, He was of like, of my age generation. It was
Yeah,
just like, it was Robert Redford and Al Pacino.
yeah,
I don't
right.
know how many times I saw Injustice for All, but that like
Oh,
hit
I
me
love that movie
right at the
too.
time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So,
And the interview on the New York Times, any interview you get a chance to hear, because I'm sure he's going to be all over once we
right.
get rolling. He's just like whatever comes into his head, he's going to say. You ask him a question he doesn't understand, he's going to say, I don't get what you're saying. Like
Yeah.
there's no pretense there. He's
Right.
just
Super
out.
real. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. 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 Well, that'll be something to look forward to. Okay.
Yeah.
So for next week, don't forget, and Amanda, you might want to pop it back in again, the link, and I'll try to remember to figure out how to put it on the YouTube. Or Amanda, maybe you can figure, you're the one that's going to put it on YouTube. Maybe you can figure out how to put the link on the YouTube link too. That we'll be doing this as a webinar next week. So make sure you register. If you can't find it somewhere here, just go to our website, look for the tea time on the calendar listing, and it should be there. I see that we already have a couple people registered for it.
Oh, awesome.
That's good. So we'll see. So we'll see everybody next
If
week.
I can't be on it, maybe I'll register and like if I'm driving or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you could.
Maybe not.
Maybe.
He's having some serious
You can
FOMO right
comment.
now.
I
I
know.
know.
I may be here anyway. We'll see.
I think you're going to be here.
You too.
Anytime there's something new, I want to be there. So you're
Oh,
right.
and Beth said she's going to put it on Instagram too. Thank you, Beth, because that's going to be good too. So, okay. So for all of you too that are here that are watching, because you're obviously do like to do stuff online, don't forget this Thursday is our virtual conversation with Patricia Cornwell and Dan Aykroyd. So
I saw
that's
that.
still, so that's still happening.
Fascinating pairing there.
Well, they're best friends.
What?
I think I
Yes,
remember that from when
fascinating.
we published her, which is so
Yes. Yes. No, her and Dan have been friends. In fact, we were supposed to, this was years ago now. We were supposed to do a live event that he was supposed to come to. I mean, we had to block the street because he was going to bring us a car with this. I mean, it
right.
was trying, but it turned out he couldn't make it. But anyways, no, they're very good friends. So I think it's going to be super fun conversation. So if you're not doing anything, it's a free event. So just go on to our website, find it and register. I think it's going to be a super fun conversation with those two. So can't wait for that.
And does it promote a book, Julie? Sorry.
Yeah, her new one. Unknown Identity,
Okay.
I think, is her new one. That's coming out, I think, tomorrow. I think is her new book. It's another Kay Scarpetta book. So, and then we're selling books at for the Ottolenghi event on Wednesday. I don't know if we'll have any signed ones left after, but if we do, I will let you know because that would make a great gift. A signed Ottolenghi book would be pretty amazing. His new book's Comfort. And what else? Next week's Nancy Pelosi. So we got all kinds of stuff going on. So happening at Warwick's, man. Planning for 2025 now too. So can't wait for that. So anyways, everybody have a great week reading. And Tom, don't miss next week.
The pressure.
I'm rearranging my schedule even as I speak.
As we speak. All right, everybody. Happy reading. See you later.
Thank you. Bye.